Okay, hello everyone. For this last lecture video on Malaysia, I'm going to talk about three things. They are kind of not very connected, but I guess there are like different elements of this Malaysian political structure. Okay, so therefore it's just really for you all to read through. Okay, so the first part, right, would be about the various prime ministers of Malaysia and see like their various contribution. The second one would be on alternative political structures. Okay, and finally one about two major challenges to Mahathir's during Mahathir's rule. All right, so kind of like attempts at wanting to destabilize the Malaysian political stability. Okay, so let's look at the first one. Okay, so the very first prime minister in the post 1971 Malaysian political landscape, right, would be Abdul Razak Hussein. Okay, so he was a prime minister that replaced Tunku. Okay, Tunku had resigned to take responsibility for the 1969 riots. All right, and then so therefore he enacted all the reforms. Okay, like for example all the NEP, the Rukun Negara, and all that. Okay, so basically he wanted to generate national strength through political stability. Okay, his successor Hussein On. Okay, so he is considered the father of unity. So therefore he wanted to generate unity by trying to address economic imbalances, okay, between the communal groups, right? So I guess he continued the new economic policy. Okay, and finally Mahathir, okay, so he was in power for like 20 years, okay, and after he still came back as prime minister in his 80s for a few years, and now in his 90s he's still in the news. Okay, so therefore before he was prime minister, he was already a politician, right? So he already exhibited pro-Malay agenda, like part of the Malay ultras. Okay, then when he became prime minister, okay, he actually was a very effective leader. So he promoted social economic stability. He led Malaysia to bigger economic power. All right, generated a lot of wealth. Although there are also some accusations of like corruption and cronyism and all that. Okay, under his leadership, the Barisan Nasional also grew. Okay, and then they won a lot of elections. Okay, and yeah, however, yeah, he only suffered his first setback in the 1990s when he lost Kelantan to PAS. Right, so the first state to be run by an opposition party. But beyond that, yeah, they actually had a lot of power. Okay, so that's Mahathir, right? So therefore you have that three prime ministers and their various contributions are to maintain political stability. So now we look at other alternative structures. So that's why Malaysia is still a democracy, okay, and not a maximum government. Okay, so the first structure, right, will be the monarchy. Okay, so this is from the Parliament of Malaysia website itself, so the official website. So the first thing they say is that Malaysia practices parliamentary democracy with constitutional monarchy and His Majesty the King as the paramount ruler. So yes, you cannot say Malaysia is a maximum government, okay? Right? Because they say that they are parliamentary democracy. We cannot say otherwise. Right. Then after that, so therefore the monarchy is a very important source of power, right? In Malaysian politics. So we have the Sultan and his the various they have the Malaysian Sultan around the entire country, okay, and then every state they have their own Sultan as well. Okay, there was some challenge by Mahathir, okay, because Mahathir wanted to reduce the power of sultans, okay, and he came up with these constitution amendments in 1983 to reduce the powers of the king. So there's some friction between Mahathir and the kings. All right, so these are the very privileged people, all right, of Malaysia. So they are the royalty, okay. I'm not sure what the states represent, okay, because I'm not very familiar. It's only the Malaysian flag, that's all I know. All right, so the next structure, okay, with the communist structure, but this one is a sunset industry, all right, losing influence already. So by in the post 1971 period, right, almost like insignificant. Okay, so 1970s there was still some action, okay, but then by 1976 no more already. So even MCP itself also kind of disintegrated, right? So therefore communism wasn't really a very serious threat, all right, to Malaysia. Next one, Islam. Okay, so that's another very powerful group, okay, in Malaysia. Okay, so therefore we have a lot of like Muslims, okay, who try to who are very active, okay, in spreading teachings and all that, right? Then after that, they also created like alternative centers of focus to add pressure to the government, right? They will like critique official policies, okay, or government policies. Okay, they will say that they will always be like a hawk, an eagle, all right, to make sure that the Malaysian government, all right, they are not doing disservice, okay, to the Muslims. Okay, so therefore they are like can form like a checks and balance kind of thing, okay, to check on the Malaysian government. Okay, so we can see Islamic influence becoming stronger from the 1990s onwards, all right, such that there's this research institute, okay, that said that religion, okay, may well replace ethnicity, okay, as a primary force in shaping national policy debates. All right, so the last part of this very short lecture video, okay, will be about the two challenges that Mahathir faced within UMNO itself. All right, but he still managed to overcome them. Okay, so therefore, it's an attempt to destabilize the country, but still not like, yeah, it's still okay. Still managed to suppress them. Okay, so therefore, it's about internal disunity. All right, therefore, internal challenges to political stability. So the first one took place in 1987. All right, Mahathir versus these two guys, Musa Hitam and Razali Hamzah. So Musa Hitam was his deputy prime minister, Then Razali was the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Okay, some minister for trade and industry. Okay, so therefore these two guys, they gang up together to challenge Mahathir. All right, in for the post of party president. Okay, so there was internal elections and Mahathir narrowly won. All right, by 43 votes. Okay, 51.4%. Okay, so therefore he almost lost his position as party president. Okay, and then therefore he unleashed some powers, okay, to try and go against to try and like tackle this political opposition. So he launched Operation Lalang, okay, to try and muzzle such opposition voices. Okay, he even interfered with the judiciary. Okay, so I guess this sound very drastic actions, okay, that's undertaken by Mahathir might not be his proudest moments. Okay, but we will not see this as characteristic of the Malaysian political landscape. All right, so these are more like aberrations, okay, rather than the norm. Okay, one consequence was that these two guys, after they are defeated in their challenge, right, to replace Mahathir, they left UMNO and they created especially Razali created a new opposition party, Semangat 46, but it was not a very strong political force. Okay, so therefore this was challenge number one. So Mahathir faced a lot of challenges in his lifetime. Challenge number two, okay, so we revisit this again in the topic of Asian financial crisis. So once again, the Asian financial crisis is the last topic. So once again, once you reach there, right, you should be very happy because it's our last topic. But before that, we have a long way to go. Okay, so this one is like more earth-shattering, okay, more happening, all right, than the first one. So that's Anwar, all right. So where we last hear of Anwar, all right, so he was a new upstart, okay, very charismatic fellow. Okay, so a bit like Bernardino Aquino of Philippines. So he was recruited, co-opted into government, okay, and eventually rose up the ranks, and he became deputy prime minister. He was supposed to be, he was like meant to be Mahathir's successor, okay, but something happened. Okay, so in 1997 there was an Asian financial crisis, all right, and Anwar back then he was also finance minister. So it's like it's not just in Singapore where the deputy prime minister is also the finance minister, right? Okay, finance minister. So he undertook reforms. Okay, he tried to like help Malaysia go through this crisis, overcome this crisis. Right, and unfortunately, some of the policies that I've introduced, we'll learn more about this next year. Okay, threaten the interests, okay, of Mahathir's friends. Yeah, and essentially, Anwar's actions directly challenged Mahathir's policy of promoting a small group of Malaysian entrepreneurs through the privatization of state assets. So therefore, yep. So Anwar is attacking this practice of a bit like nepotism kind of thing, a bit. Right, so obviously Mahathir was not happy, his friends were not happy, okay, and this attempt to to cut off their money supply, okay, so therefore unceremoniously Anwar was sacked from all his political posts, and he was even arrested on alleged charges of sodomy. Okay, so yeah, it was very exciting, very drama. Okay, so because Anwar was also very popular, okay, there was popular demonstrations. There was actually like public support, and there were people who went to the streets to protest, okay, and demanded for Anwar's release from prison and stuff like that. Okay, so this created this called reformacy movement, okay, reformation. Okay, so protesters called for his release, and therefore there were some clashes, okay, between the police and the demonstrators. Alright, so this was a very infamous photo of how Mahathir was beaten. Not Mahathir, Anwar was beaten up by the police chief when he was in detention. So like many years later, the police chief apologized, something like that. So again, that's another gossip. Okay, so if you're interested, you can read up more about it yourself. Alright, so this is Anwar, okay, and this entire debacle of how there's this fight between the master and the disciple kind of thing. Okay, so this anti-Mahathir movement led to the development of new coalition called the Barisan Alternative. Okay, so therefore it kind of like galvanized the opposition, okay, and they kind of organized themselves to create an alternative coalition like the BN. Okay, and it's led by Anwar's wife. Right? So all the elements coming together, right? This Barisan Corporation Parties coalition, then wife was like also like in it happened in the Philippines, right? There's a coalition, then the wife and stuff. So yeah, things always repeat themselves. History always repeat themselves, especially in Southeast Asia. Okay, so in the 1999 elections, VN only continued to win that 2/3 majority because of non-Malay support, which is highly ironic, okay, because a lot of the Malays, they actually went to support this new Barisan Alternative. Okay, and so because the Malays, they were very disillusioned because they kind of realized that the cause of this split, right, was that UMNO was trying to attack the chronistic practices of Mahathir, okay, and therefore a lot of Malays were very disillusioned and they withdrew their support, okay, for the BN. Right, so therefore Malay and UMNO disunity had then become a significant source of political instability in Malaysian politics. Okay, but then it doesn't mean that therefore there's maximum government, because we don't have. Okay, we still have regular elections. All right, we still have UMNO, continuing to hold on to power as a result of the results of the 1999 elections. Okay, so my last slide. So to recap, Malaysia as a democratic country, right? So with regards to centrifugal threats, the 1969 KL riots did affect Malaysia, okay, for 2 years. Okay, Malaysia's democracy for 2 years, just temporary setback. But they were actually able to manage the communist challenge. Okay, so communism never amounted to a serious threat because of Malay nationalism, because of communalism. So therefore, with these two very strong ideologies in place, right, communism could not the people were just not attracted to communism. Okay, moving on to criterion 2. During the maximum government phase, we have these two institutions that were created, these new political structures that were created to maintain stability. All right. Then after that, in post 1971 Malaysia, they went back to democracy, so that's phase 3 for them. Then after that, we have a lot of such things that were happening. All right. It's a kind of a mixed record. Okay, but overall, it is still a parliamentary democracy, at most exhibiting maximum government characteristics. Okay, so there are some limitations to democratic processes, but by and large, there are still democratic processes. Okay, and the social economic development, okay, is a mixed record as well. Okay, with the new economic policy. All right, so I'm done with Malaysia as well. We'll move on to the next case study, which is Singapore.